Please join me in welcoming Jim Allen.
Well, hello, DePauw. Good to see everybody. The bell is back on campus where it should be. How about that? I was waiting to come back to campus till you guys finally won the bell back. So thank you to the football team and cheering them on. And another special thing, I don't see any clouds. The sun is out. The class of 17 is blessed, I tell you. So, President McCoy, thank you for the intro to parents, relatives, family, friends that are here to honor you. It is just such a pleasure to be with you and an honor to be part of your special weekend. For me, this is just such a special place to be able to come back to DePauw and to be able to bring my wife here for the first time and to walk around the campus and just to feel the energy on the campus, to walk around and recognize all the memories we've had, all the fun times that I had during my 4 years here at DePauw. And then my wife and I decided to have a few fun times of our own at the Fluttering Duck on Friday night. I say we were very well taken care of by some of our senior class of 17, so thank you for the rounds of drinks. You were far too generous in continuing to bring them to us, but it did give us the chance to stay up late enough to end the evening as only you can end a Good Friday night at Marvin's, having garlic cheeseburgers at 2:15 in the morning. Now, I figured something out just recently. This is what comes with the wisdom of 34 years out of DePauw. I think there's a reason why those GCBs taste so good at 2 a.m., but not so great at 5 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon. Anyway, it was for me. You guys get it. These guys get it. So for me, though, with my wife, we literally said it was like we were 22 again. Literally hanging out at Marvin's, hanging out at the Duck. Unfortunately, the next morning, woke up and felt like I was 72. And what I've come to realize is this campus is timeless. It is timeless. It stays young. But I recognize I am not timeless. And we come back, and that's the way it should be. It grows, but it's repopulated with new energy. You've brought that energy. I encourage you to come back and enjoy the energy of what you've created, you've built upon here at DePauw. Now, as I said, I am both honored and proud to be here as your commencement address speaker, but I will also tell you, it's an intimidating assignment. You think about it, wow, what pearls of wisdom is he going to drop on us here for the class of 17 as they head off? And I got to tell you, I really don't feel qualified to be up here giving expert advice to anyone. But I sat right where you are now 34 years ago. And I do feel qualified to tell you some of the things that I've learned along the way, some of the lessons I've learned, and some of the things I've come to appreciate. And I want to start out with one thing for all of you in the class of 17. You are far more prepared for the road ahead, moving into the real world because of the time you've spent here at DePauw. Now, I'm not saying you aren't going to face struggles and challenges, doubts and fears. And as President McCoy talked about yesterday, yes, you will experience failure. I know that because I sat in that seat and I have experienced those things. I also know that everyone who has experienced those things, or everyone who sat in those seats has experienced the same thing. But what I also know is your time here has prepared you to face those challenges, face those fears, and to move them to opportunity and success. Your experiences over the last 4 years, during your time here at DePauw, experiences in the classroom, experiences outside the classroom, have taught you things that will carry with you through the rest of your journey. And I would tell you, DePauw did not attempt to give you all the answers, but rather DePauw focused on teaching you how to ask the right questions. How to ask the right questions of yourself, of others, of situations. DePauw taught all of you and taught me critical thinking skills. I want you to commit to continuing to ask those questions, the right questions of yourself, of situations, of others, to use those critical thinking skills, to put them to good use. Because as I left campus 34 years ago, when you drive off tomorrow, for me, the things that were most valuable now as I look back in reflection were those critical thinking skills that I developed here and continue to hone today. And also, the other most valuable things were those lifelong friendships that I built here at DePauw. So that's one lesson I just want to share with team right here, is that you will face those challenges, but you are more ready to face them than you realize. The other thing that I learned as I continued on my career is the importance of leaving everything better than you found it. And I like to call this the George Bailey effect. And you guys don't look like you're getting the George Bailey thing. So It's a Wonderful Life, Zuzu's Pedals. And they're in the movie, It's a Wonderful Life. I recommend you see it. It's one of my personal favorites. I love Jimmy Stewart and all the overacting and everything in the movie. But he literally, just by being of service, by making things better, he was able to keep Bedford Falls the special way it was versus becoming Pottersville. So that's the George Bailey effect. I think this best came to me when I was working at DePauw. Never worked at DePauw. When I was working at Starbucks. And I was given the opportunity to run all the retail stores in America. And I had never done any retail. So this for me was a brand new experience. So I thought, boy, who can I learn from? So I reached out to the first head of retail at Starbucks, a guy named Howard Bihar. And I said, Howard, I would love to just tour stores with you, go around and learn from you, what you see, how you do it. He said, I'd love to do that. So we got together early in the morning and went from store to store to store. And you'd go in and you'd talk to people and you'd do your thing. And we did this across 17 stores. And we'd ride in the car together between the stores. And he'd be asking me all these questions about retail operations and running the stores. And what do you think this costs? What do you think you ought to do about that? And I was, I felt like it was pop quiz all over again. I thought, oh my God, am I getting the right answers? This guy, he was like the Yoda of retailing for me. And I wanted to impress him. So we got to the end of the day, going our separate ways. I was going to go back to my car. And I said, Howard, I got to know, how do you think I'm going to do running the stores, heading this group? And he says, I think you're going to do a great job. And I said, so you really like my answers to the question? He goes, oh, God, no. He says, you've got so much to learn about retail, son. But he said, here's the thing. When you went into the stores, what impressed me is you always made that connection with the baristas, the people working behind the counter. And you asked them a lot of questions, and I saw you took a lot of notes as you asked those questions. He said, what you do with those answers is very important. That's something, obviously, I've learned through my time at DePauw. He said the other thing that even impressed me more, though, was on the way into the first store, I noticed you reached down and picked up a wrapper that was on the sidewalk and threw it in the trash can. He said, that's why I think you're going to do a good job. He said, we are a trash picking up kind of company. If you are too good to pick up trash, you're too good to be the head of retail. You need to go somewhere else. But because you don't see that as someone else's job and you just reached down and picked up that trash and threw it away, he says, I think you're going to be the right type of person to serve this. And he shared with me then a saying that's a paraphrase that he gave from the Torah. And that saying was, if not me, who? If not now, when? If not me, who? If not now, when? And what he was basically saying is, don't look around to give a job to somebody else. If you see a way to be of service, do that job. What he was telling me was, the best way to do my job well was to be of service to the people I led. And I took that with me as I started into retail at Starbucks, heading up the stores. And there was another example. I was at an open forum, and we'd get everyone together this was in the Chicago area, and came in to the open forum and just said, hey, want to hear what's on your minds? How can we make the stores better for you? And the store managers, they're very vocal. They don't know how to be politically correct. They just tell you what they think. They're not going to say, oh, Mr. President, I don't want to offend you. They just said, Jim, our toilets suck. He said, our toilets overflow all the time. They're spilling all over the floor. They're a real problem for us. They're like residential toilets from a home. I said, okay, I think that's something we can fix. So, being the big thinker I am, I said, let's get some like super industrial grade toilets. So we got, these things must have come from Hewlett Packard or something. You'd flush that sucker, and you better be strapped down because it was just like, and everybody, And I will tell you, that made a bigger impression on that team in Chicago that we got the toilets done. And again, it was being of service to them. But I came back to Chicago 6 months later. I was like a rock star. And they're like, it's the toilet guy. He's the guy. He got it done for us. And for me, again, that was how I could be a leader, was being of service, finding the toilets. The other story, I know, sexy stuff, right? The other story I want to share just to reinforce this, again with Starbucks. This was, again, right as I was taking over leadership of the stores. We had an executive retreat, and it was like the top 10 of us at the company. And the retreat started, as most meetings do at Starbucks, with a coffee tasting, going back to your roots. And the coffee tasting was led by the first head of coffee, a guy named Dave Olson. And he came back to do this coffee tasting, and he put on his original Starbucks apron, which was really cool. And when he put it on, I noticed a couple of things. This was 15 years ago, by the way. So he put it on, and the first thing I noticed was there's, the Starbucks logo here with the mermaid in the middle. Well, the mermaid from when he was in the stores, risque. You had mermaid's fins are up in the air, and she's like topless, and it was like, oh my God, this is never going to make it past legal today. But the other thing that struck me that I really noticed, the apron he was wearing had a couple of pockets in the front. And I had never seen pockets on aprons at Starbucks for the baristas. And it hit me, and I asked the question, why don't we have pockets on the aprons anymore? And someone told me that they took away the pockets at some point in time because people were taking money out of the cash till. This is back when people used to pay with cash. I know, what a concept, But they would take money out of the cash till, and because the pockets were right in the front, they would stick bills, literally steal money, put it in, put the pockets into the pockets. So they decided to take the pockets away. And when I thought about that, the first thing that hit me was, well, how hard is it to, reach around and put it in your back pant pocket? This is not, rocket science. But the other thing I thought was, this is something people want. This is something that actually helps them do their jobs. And I started asking baristas, would you like to have these pockets? And they said, yeah, they took them away, but we'd love to have them. And I finally said, God, I don't think I would have ever taken those pockets away. And then I remembered the words that Howard Behar told me. He said, if not me, who? If not now, when? Not me, who? Not now, when? So we brought the pockets back. And they're still there today. 15 years later, you can see the pockets. Toilets and pockets and picking up trash, that's my legacy. And I will tell you, it doesn't seem glamorous, right? But being of service and leaving things better than you found them is what makes me proud. You are not going to stay in your first job, most likely, and retire from it. You will move from job to job. You will learn as you make those moves. I encourage you, do what you can to leave what you found better than it was, or leave what you found better when you leave it. Did I say that right? Yes. So that's the second thing, as I've reflected, that I want to share with you. The last one is being of service feels good. Being of service, helping others, is actually one of the most self-serving things you can do, and I've learned this. I actually went to TOMS Shoes because I felt it was a company where I could be of service. And for those of you who don't know about TOMS, I want to just share a little bit about the background of the company. TOMS, first of all, was trying to reach me with an executive recruiter, and they reached out and called me numerous times, and I kept thinking, I really don't want to work for a toothpaste company in Maine, because you guys know TOMS in Maine. I was thinking, okay, I don't think I want to go work for the toothpaste company. And finally, the recruiter said, this is a different company, and it's a different kind of company. Come meet the founder. Come meet the founder of TOMS, and if you don't want to join the company after that, fine. So I met a guy named Blake Mikowski, who founded TOMS Shoes, and he shared with me the TOMS story. And I said, how'd you get started? He said, I was on a trip in Argentina, and I saw kids who needed shoes but couldn't afford them. They couldn't have shoes. And he said it was just breaking his heart. So he said, what can I do to help? And he didn't want to hit friends and relatives up for money. So what he decided to do, he had what I consider to be a very simple, yet a really inspired idea. And that idea was to sell a pair of shoes today so that he could give a pair of shoes away tomorrow. And that was something he called the Tomorrow's Shoe Project. Now you may be wondering, okay, how does the name TOMS come out then if the guy's name is Blake? It actually is because Tomorrow's Shoes, when you try to print that on the back of the heel, you couldn't get much, but you could get 4 letters up there. So TOMS is not Blake's, it's TOMS, because it's about tomorrow's shoes. That started 11 years ago. That was when he had the first idea. His goal was to be able to sell 250 pairs of shoes. Now, 11 years later, over 70 million children have received new free shoes because we've been able to sell 70 million pairs. So for each pair sold, a pair is given away. And that's something that I'm very proud of. And as I've been part of TOMS, I've had reinforced for me that people are inherently good, that people want to be part of something bigger than themselves. We are physiologically wired to do good, to give. There are certain neurochemicals that we secrete in giving and being of service that they're serotonin, oxytocin, dopamine. Those neurochemicals actually give us a high. They give us a natural high. They make us feel good. And as that happens, it reinforces our desire to do so. So I will tell you, being of service, giving, not only isn't a good thing to do, it's a good thing for you to do for yourself. So as far as some of the reflection on lessons I've learned, since I've been with you in that seat, those are the things I wanted to share. But I do also want to share a hope I have for all of you. This is a hope for the class of 17, and it's a hope that my wife and I, who's here with me, hi honey, my wife and I have for our 3 boys. And my guess is it's a hope that everyone who came here to support you, who's been part of your lives, has for you as well. And those hopes are, first of all, I hope, like any parent, that my boys know that I love them. I hope that all of you know that you are loved and that you have the confidence and security that comes from that love. But I also hope that you love back in turn. And I want to reach out because I see my parents now. So my parents have not been back to DePauw since I graduated. This is the first time they've ever heard me speak. Am I doing okay? All right, so Mom and Dad, I love you. Annette, I love you. So that's one hope I have for you. And as a parent, I know it's easy for me to give love to my boys. But the other thing that I wish for all of you and I wish for my children is they are happy. I want you to be happy. But again, as a parent, what I've realized is I can give love, but I can't give happiness. You're not going to go to a meal today with your family and friends and relatives and have them package up, something that you open up for your graduation gift and go, surprise, it's a lifetime of happiness and fulfillment. It doesn't work that way. You can't give happiness to someone. You all have to find it. You have to find it through struggles. You have to find it through achievement. You find it from facing your fears. You find it through disappointments, and you find it through triumphs. But as you find that happiness, you want to continue to build on that and the fulfillment that you feel now, but throughout your life. That's the hope I have for you. Now, in closing, I just want to say to the class of 2017, I'm not going to let you get out of here without one homework assignment. So I'm sticking you. Yeah, I know. It's like, just when I thought I was out, he pulls us back in. So my homework assignment for you is, take a moment today, on a day when you are in the spotlight, when you are the center of attention, take a moment to stop and thank those special people in your life who have loved and supported you and helped you as you reach the place you are today. And also, take a moment to thank them in advance. Thank them in advance for the love and support they will give you as you begin this next leg of your journey to find that happiness and fulfillment. Thank you, everyone. Class of 17, I wish you great success. Go get them, Tigers.